Ancient Rome was founded in 753 BC, and in the time between their creation and 500 AD, a lot of change in fashion, makeup, and hair design took place. There were famous designers, sculptors, designs, etc. Around that time, there were a lot of famous events as well to truly define the era. For instance, this time period was where the Trojan War happened, Verdict period in Indus Valley occurred, Homer wrote his epics, famous biblical kings arose, Babylonian captivity occurred, Greece flourished, Greece fought Persians, Greece was conquered by the Macedonians, then the Romans. Romans got rid of kings and established a republican form of government. Rome began ruling by emperor, Christianity became more important, etc. The list goes on. And all of these events occurred during an exceptionally big fashion revolution in Rome and surrounding areas. For instance, beauty ideal. The beauty ideal for women of that time was that women were supposed to have a small, thin, but robust construction, like narrow shoulders, pronounced hips, wide thighs. For face, it would have to have almond-shaped eyes, sharp nose, medium-sized mouth and ears, and oval cheeks and chin. In the long run, not much happened to that, but we did include more items such as adding blonde hair and more. We were also thought to have thick eyebrows and long eyelashes as a beauty ideal. Then there was the manly beauty ideal. Men were supposed to be 5 foot 7 inches with big muscles and tones. They would also have strong legs and a tanned tone of skin. Roman men also had to have a high and broad forehead, wide eyes, strong nose, and a powerful jaw. After the body ideal comes the way you present it, daily fashion. The toga was considered the national costume of Rome. Although it was deemed the national costume, people did not find it near as comfortable as the tunic, making that an everyday choice for Roman citizens, along with boots, slippers, sandals, and clogs. On days of occasion, both men and women of ancient Rome wore a toga with red borders on it, and every day for male children, they wore a toga with purple borders. Dark clothing was worn during times of mourning from both men and women. Only one thin layer of loincloth was worn by the slaves, and the other working class members, who were not slaves, wore a short woolen undergarment with short sleeves. For men in ancient Rome, they wore a short sleeve or sleeveless knee-length tunic, with a woolen toga draped over the tunic on other special occasions. For women, they wore longer-sleeved, bigger tunics. There was also a sort of color code as well, such as whenever someone would wear purple, it was expected to have protected those who wore it. If anyone wore dark blue or indigo, it served as a fake Tyrian purple. Saffron yellow was also loved but expensive. Saffron yellow is basically the orangey yellow, kind of like you see in fires. Togas with purple borders were worn mostly by male children. Togas with the golden borders were worn by generals in their triumph. Togas entirely in purple were applied to statues of emperors, and togas with red borders were worn by men and women for occasions. For makeup and hairstyles, women were supposed to have smooth, white skin because it was very important to Roman women. In fact, they would go to lengths to keep it pale, or as pale as possible, such as putting on a night mask called tectorium to be removed the next day with milk, and taking baths in milk. They would also use flour to make their skin even paler, as if using makeup. Both strong, thick hair and curled black hair were considered handsome for men, until 1st century BC, when blonde hair was introduced into the mix. Also, young rich folk would allow their hair to grow really long. They would tie it with a strip. Also, another thing to add, bald hair was very badly considered. People used to comb their remaining hair over it to try and hide the fact, and if they ever did go bald, they would use wigs. There were a few subcultures in ancient Rome, but the most prominent, meaning the one with the most people in it, was the homosexual subculture. And lastly, for the procedure of making clothes like this, most fabric was produced by professionals whose traders, standards, and specialties were protected by guilds. These in turn were recognized and regulated by local authorities. There was also, while making it, minimal waste, cutting, and sewing, and loose-end threads would be tied off. Also, tablet weaving, in which I will show the definition on screen, existed during that period of time and was strongly used. They usually made their clothes out of wool and would weave it in order to make it, or tablet weave. Thanks for watching.